All right, so we're going to I will call to order the subcommittee meeting of the Utility Service Board this will be for the Property and Planning Subcommittee meeting. We have two items on our agenda this evening or afternoon, and the first one is to review an easement agreement with the residents of Lake Lemon, and I believe Mr. Wheeler is going to present on this one.
Good afternoon, Chris Wheeler, City Legal. This is it's an expansion, it's a rewriting really of an existing easement that we have with folks that live out on Tunnel Road, which runs around a section on the south shoreline of Lake Lemon. The original easement, or easements, there are actually two, were in place to allow a group of residents living out on Tunnel Road to cross. If you turn to what's shown as page 7 or Exhibit B, there's a little triangular piece of property that we own out there that has a gravel road running across it, and we have many years ago granted an easement to a group of residents out there to get across that triangular piece. Since that time, the gravel road has been extended around through what's called Icebox Bay on Lake Lemon, and around to catch up and connect with other residents who live on the other side of Icebox Bay. They've been using the gravel road and happily doing so, but without any authority to do so. And they would like to actually pave the road and came to us with the request to do so. And we were like, well, you don't even have an easement to get across our property, and we'll have to correct that if we're going to allow you to pave it. So they hired an attorney, and the attorney worked with me. And even though it says at page 4 that this instrument was prepared by Angela Parker, it was actually prepared by the two of us working together to come up with the language that everybody would be satisfied with. And so what this easement does then is just allow all of those additional residents that are on the other side of Icebox Bay to now do two things. They're allowed not only to cross that little triangular piece that I pointed out, but also to cross a piece of property that the city owns on the very south side of what is known as Icebox Bay. They can cross that piece of property as well. And the language of the easement also permits all of these folks to not only maintain the existing gravel road, but if they would like, to improve upon that roadway by paving it, which was something that the old easement didn't mention or specify. It was just to maintain a gravel road. So when you want to improve the existence of an easement, it's a good idea to change the language to give what's known as the dominant landowner the right to actually make those improvements to the existing easement, widening the road or paving it in this case. We're not giving any authority to widen the easement of the driveway, but we are giving authority to pave. That's a lot to throw out there all at once. I'm happy to try and answer questions and as you have them.
Are there any questions from the board?
So, moving forward, it seems like this group is proactive and want to pave the road. But moving forward, will the city will we act as like an overseer when maintenance or updates are needed for this easement? Will we sort of suggest to the group like, hey, this might need paved, or is that in our realm of responsibilities at all?
No.
Okay.
We don't care whether they maintain the roadway or not. It's up to them to decide to maintain it, to raise the funds to do so, and to do it in the manner that they see fit. What they weren't allowed to do was to take an existing gravel road, which we said that they could have and utilize to travel across our property, to take that gravel road and turn it into a paved road. So they did the right thing and asked for that permission. And what we've decided to do, instead of just saying orally that they may do so, or maybe in a letter, was to actually change the easement to say that it can now be a maintained paved road. But we don't need to have them come to us for anything more than just to tell us, hey, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and we just say, go right ahead and do it. We're not going to get involved with the politics of how they might raise the money or how they might actually do the maintenance.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Megan?
So then if 25 years down the road, the road's been paved and it's full of potholes, CBU doesn't care?
Correct. And we're not going to go out and fill the potholes.
Right. Okay, but it's, for our purposes, we don't, it doesn't matter to us if there are potholes or if it gets plowed in the winter or anything like that?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
They could stop using it altogether if they wanted to.
Okay.
And actually, one of the questions that I had was winter plowing. If they choose, does the group have some sort of way of clearing that? Or it's, at least we don't care, it's just not our responsibility to do it?
That's right.
Okay.
And it's such a tiny segment of the entire driveway that actually crosses our property. We actually, for the first time today, I eyeballed it. We went out and took a ride down the driveway. We had to be out there for different business. But we took a ride down just so I could see it. And it really is the smallest percentage of the overall driveway that actually crosses city property.
Okay, great.
Just, are we talking about 10 feet, 3 inches, what?
The triangular patch is probably 10 feet long.
Okay.
And the one at the south point of Icebox Bay may be another 10 feet. There's not a lot to discuss. It's deceiving. I was glad to finally get an eyeball on it because it looks like a lot of property there, but it just isn't.
Okay.
They have built some significant stormwater infrastructure there to keep the road from washing out as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. Well, if there aren't any questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Great, so motion passes.
Thank you.
So we'll present that to the full board today with our full, with the subcommittee's full support of that. We'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is to review the MOU with the Parks Department. This is in regards to the Switchyard Park sewer main, and I'm assuming, Mr. Wheeler, you're on this
Yes.
one as well.
Yes, this is an interesting one. We have a sewer main that has been in that location for a very, very long time, long before Switchyard Park was Switchyard Park. But it was not across what was once Wee Willie's and the property just south of that. It wasn't actually in an easement. So last year we had surveyors go out and actually locate where the main is located. And because now the property is owned by the RDC, which is part of the city. And so we were able to get easements put together very quickly without any cost to CBU. And we now have the sewer main in easements. But when Switchyard Park was being built, they had a whole lot of coal ash spoils that were discovered while they were doing the excavating and redistribution of dirts and such to create a nice landscape for the park. And they were required by IDEM to place those coal ash spoils in various berms along the Switchyard Park that are capped with other soil and grassed over and put trees on and whatnot. One of those berms that they located is actually sitting right on top of that sewer main. And doesn't seem like a big deal, but there's quite a bit of earth that sits over the top of the sewer main. And if we ever need to get down in there, and someday we will need to get down in there to do some kind of work to maintain it, replace it, whatnot. And when you put that much new dirt on top of our main, we have to be worried about trenching and digging back. Plus, we're going to be invading a thing that the IDEM said, put it here and leave it there, right? So we're going to need to worry about permitting and what are we going to do with the disturbed coal ash while we're in the ground digging around in there. So we had to talk with Parks, and we came up with an agreement that delineates those responsibilities and who's going to bear the cost. The additional cost of excavation if we ever need to get down in there and do some kind of work with that sewer main. So it's the additional cost. We would still have our regular cost that we would know we would need to incur to do a replacement, for example, But the additional cost of the additional excavation and the concerns with getting permits and where to hold the coal ash and keep it and put it back in according to IDEM permitting, all of those additional costs will be covered by parks. In addition to proper signage and things like that that would need to be put up in order to keep the park going public safely away from our work. That's what the MOU spells out, and I'm encouraging this board to recommend to the full board that this MOU get passed.
Okay. Are there any questions? Seth? Megan?
No questions.
I
Megan?
was just wondering, why was CBU not consulted before the berm was placed over the sewer main?
I don't think Parks fully appreciated where our sewer main was. And so when it got placed where it was, got actually a couple of things, and I think I'm correct when I say this. I think that the contractor put it in the wrong place and didn't know necessarily just exactly where our main was. So a couple of factors put it right over the top of our main.
If there would be future projects, do we have a system in place to hopefully prevent this? I mean, I drove by that berm today and it's quite tall.
It's huge.
It's quite the sight. So I just feel like that's gonna be quite the expense when the time comes.
CBU normally has a seat at most tables with regards to what the city is doing with its projects so that we have a voice and it's heard. We had a voice and it was heard in this instance. It's just that when the contractor was doing its job,
Okay.
I think that
Just didn't
there was
happen.
an issue where the berm ended up getting put not quite where everybody thought it was supposed to be. And CBU wasn't out there watching the Parks project. Parks didn't fully appreciate where our main was, and so it just happened.
Okay, thank you.
And that's why we don't want to have to bear the expense, because we had made it very clear to them we had a main there, and they made a mistake.
Okay,
So
great. Thank you.
Great. I don't have any questions, so if there aren't any further questions, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
A second. Great, motion approves.
thank you.
We'll bring this also to the board for with our full support. So, are there any other items for the Property and Planning Subcommittee? Any petitions or other communications? If not, then the subcommittee shall adjourn. There we go.